Well, welcome to Insight Meditation Community of Charlotte. It's 7:30, so we will go ahead and get started with our silent meditation. As people come on, they can join us. To find your meditation posture, wherever you happen to be sitting, and take a moment to get settled in, to allow yourself at this time. This time is a time for you. It's a time for your practice. So just set your intention that you are going to allow yourself this time, and you're going to focus on your breath. You'll be focusing on your breath. That this is the time for your meditation practice. Anything else can be done later on. So just take a moment to set that intention to be present, to be with your breath for the next few moments. Sit with your back. You want it to be erect and up, the shoulders down your back, not to be slouching. This is a breathing where we focus in our breath. We want to come in and out. Have our shoulders down our back, our arms relaxed, our feet relaxed on the floor. And be aware, just be aware of your body at this moment. Just be aware of any tension that you may have. Kind of just breathe into that. Anything that you're carrying from the day, kind of breathe into that. Let it go, kind of relax. You've set your intention to be here. Nothing else to be thinking about, to be worried about at this moment. There'll be plenty of time for that later on. And come back into your breath. Come back to focus on your breath. In breath and the out breath. We're simply observing this breath. We're practicing on being with what is present, what is arising in this moment. Through the in-breath, the out-breath, wherever it's dominant for you, whether it's your nostrils, your chest, or your belly, don't manage or control that breath in any way. If it's a long breath, be aware it's a long breath. If it's a short breath, be aware. Be curious about your breath. That helps to maintain your focus as you sit and breathe. Know that thoughts are going to arise. The mind's going to try to come in and start adding stories. That's perfectly natural. That's what the mind does. Just be aware of that. Note it. And then come back to your breath. And we come back over and over during this time period. We'll be constantly coming back to our breath. There's no judgment about that. It's just the way we meditate. We come back over and over and over to this simple breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Clyde, one of the Dharma leaders here at Insight Meditation Community of Charlotte, and welcome. At this time, if you don't have your video on, I'll take a moment to turn your video on and say hello to everybody. Pretend like we're in the chapel and say hello for a moment before we start the talk. Okay. A couple of weeks ago, Ward talked about, he gave a talk on how he's using some of the Buddhist teachings to help him manage his relationship with this upcoming election. He talked about just a few of the things he talked about. He talked about right speech and applying the principles of right speech, particularly with interactions with other people, his right speech around the news, and particularly about social media, all the different forms of social media. He talked about right effort, and that had to do with how are we dealing with our thoughts, these wholesome and unwholesome thoughts, how we manage those, and the mind states that come up around those. And he also talked about, he said we should use the practice of metta for our loving kindness practice for ourselves and for others during this time period. And that's just a few of the things that Ward talked about. And then last week, Joy talked about this practice of generosity and all of its different forms and ways of doing it in ways that we can feel like we're doing something good during this time. So tonight I want to kind of continue this theme here of using what other teachings can we work with during this time. And the one I want to work with is called acting with right intention. How do I act with right intention as I engage with this political process? We can't get away from it. It's here. So how do I engage with this? David Loy, who we've had here before, who's real involved with engaged Buddhism, says, our Buddhist practice and our social engagement need each other. Without responsible engagement by people committed to spiritual practice, the U.S. and the world situation will continue to deteriorate, causing more people to suffer along with the rest of the biosphere. So how did this I want to tell you how this came up for me. I'm going to define what right intention is, and I'm going to say explain why it's important, and then I'm going to say what are some of the ways that I'm using it. Well, it came up for me because I'm not a big user of Facebook. I've never really been a big user, but over the past few months, I got involved with it. And I was going out there, I would get upset over something in the news, and I would go and do this post, or I would repost a lot of things that people came up with that supported my side. And then I noticed a couple of months ago that there was a lot of anger out here on Facebook. And for someone who has a spiritual practice where anger is one of the poisons, exactly what was I doing and why was I doing this? So I had to look at what were my intentions. So I started thinking about my intentions behind what my actions were around this. And I came up with some. It made me feel good. I'd get angry and I'd post something, I'd feel something. So it kind of assuaged my anger, and I'd have this kind of self-righteous anger and feel good about it. Maybe it showed how witty I was. I made these smart little comments, or how I tried to make things were factual based on history and how people would know how I knew my history. Or maybe I just wanted people to say, here's my view, and how could you have anything else? I mean, how can anybody, my view is so right, how can anybody have anything other than that? And so I had to kind of think, well, were these intentions behind this action in line with my spiritual path? And I kind of fell short there. I kind of fell short. So as we engage in this political process, this election process, I need to have a clear understanding of what these intentions are in terms of this path. So what is right intention? Well, right intention is the second step on the Noble Eightfold Path. And it's defined, it has three parts to it. It's the intention of renunciation, the intention of goodwill, and the intention of harmlessness. So if we look at these, renunciation, the intention of renunciation offsets the intention of desire and greed. And we develop this. How do we develop this intention of renunciation? We develop it by looking at impermanence and unsatisfactoriness. That if everything is impermanent, everything that rises and passes away, everything is conditioned. If I'm clinging to it, I want to hold on to this greed. I'm holding on to something that's going to pass away. And so what we do is we begin to, as we work with this, we begin to kind of relax around some of these things that we're holding on to. Bhikkhu Bodhi says, real renunciation is not a matter of compelling ourselves to give up things still inwardly cherished, but of changing our perspective on them so that they don't bind us. We want to change our perspective so they don't bind us. This is the process of renunciation. The second one is the intention of goodwill. And the intention of goodwill offsets the intention of ill will or anger. And this is developed, we develop this through our loving kindness practice, our loving kindness meditation, our metta. It's the idea behind here is as we practice metta, as we continue to send metta to ourselves, we send metta to all beings. The idea behind this is that as we cultivate this mind state of loving kindness, is that it's hard for anger to come in. The mind can hold two conflicting things at one time. So we develop these mind states. We want to be in this mind state of loving kindness, so anger doesn't have a chance to arise. So the third one is harmlessness. Harmlessness, the intention of harmlessness offsets the intention of harmfulness, doing harm to others. How we develop this is through compassion, development of compassion. And we kind of do it when we do with our loving kindness meditation, this concept of if I want me and my friends to be happy, healthy, I want all beings to be healthy and whole and happy and to live with peace and ease. As I develop that, as I do practice the loving kindness and compassion arises, I want everyone to be safe. I want everyone to be protected. And if I want it for myself and the people that I love, and then I send this out to other people, I don't want to cause harm for other people or their animals or other things. So that's how we develop this concept of harmlessness, the intention of harmlessness. So we have these three. We have renunciation, we have goodwill, and we have harmlessness. And there's a lot more to this, but I just wanted to give you the basics of what this is. So why is this important? Why is acting with good intention important? Well, it's important because of the first noble truth. The first noble truth is right view or right understanding. And what that entails is this understanding of suffering and the causes of suffering. And this idea of karma, the idea the law of karma, the law of cause and effect. If I act with unwholesome, if I have unwholesome actions, I'm going to create more suffering. If I act with wholesome, if I have wholesome actions, I'm going to create less suffering. See the idea here that intention drives our action. The Buddha said, intention, I tell you, is karma. Intending, one creates karma by way of body, speech, and mind. So if I follow in the path, here's my understanding, here's intention, here's it's the law of cause and effect. And we're not going to go looking for what happens. We just know that if I act with wholesome intentions, I'm going to have wholesome results and less suffering. So that's why once I know that's the way things work, it's like gravity. I understand gravity. I know how it works. I don't throw a rock up and stand under it because I know that's not the way to do it. So I want to act with right intention. And these are how we develop these right intentions. So let's go back to my postings. Were my political actions free from clinging, anger, or cruelty? They were not. So I have backed off of those a lot, but I had to look at this. And this applies to whatever party you support, whatever candidates you want to do. It's the same thing. It's just the way we act if we're on the path. So I came up with a few things, how I'm working with this. What can I do? What can I do with this? How can I work with this? And these are just some things that I came up with as I was looking through this, going, well, I'm not acting in accordance with my spiritual path. The first thing is that because of this idea of karma, this law of cause and effect, and that every action we take has a karmic impact, no matter how small it is. For me, that's a motivation. It says, okay, I can do anything, whatever I do, so I can act. I can be engaged as long as I'm acting with this right intention. Because at some point, I don't know when, it may not be within the next 5 weeks, it may not be within the next 6 months or 10 years or this lifetime, but these seeds that are planted through this will come to fruition, and that's the law of karma. So I had to find things that I can do with right intention. The big thing and I know a lot of people have done this, a lot of people you see in Buddhists, when you read Jack Kornfield, these people are talking about, we get urging people to vote. The democratic process, that's all good intentions. I can get involved with that. You can get your friends to vote. There's a lot of people writing letters to get people to vote. It's not about who you're voting for. It's the fact of taking advantage of doing voting because it's important. We can volunteer to do voter registration. We can volunteer to get people to the polls. We can volunteer to be a poll worker. These are things that I could do easily, and it doesn't involve anger. It involves just wanting to do this. I have to be aware of things. There's certain things that I might get involved with that I have to be aware of, that this is going to trigger some anger or some greed or some ill will, and I have to be aware of those things. So the first thing is that I can act, I can be engaged in this process. The second thing that I'm working with is because of this idea of the impermanence, I have to work with watching this anger. For me, it comes up, and anger is a valid, emotion that comes up. That's there. It's kind of for me, it's kind of a red flag. Okay, there's anger. What's going on with this? And what I find for myself, if I go I want to be with the anger. I want to see us there. I want to go beyond it. And usually what I find is I'm clinging to something. It may be my view about things, my ideas about things. I kind of go, my view about how America should be, or American way of life is impermanent. this American way of life, all of it's impermanent. So I had to kind of loosen around those things so that the anger is not so strong. I don't think I'm going to get rid of it over the next few weeks, but I think I can work with it. As Ward said, this is a great time to practice all this because we're in the mix of all this right now. So what am I clinging to? What's idea? What view am I clinging to? And so the third thing that I'm working with is what can I do constructively right now? If I'm concerned about something, what can I do positive energy wise for things? And this could be, if you're environment, veterans, it could be social justice. What could I do now to start contributing to change that's bigger than this election? And I'm not discounting the election, it's big. But what am I doing now to plant these seeds of goodwill to come out of compassion and goodwill versus focusing on something that could drive anger or ill will? The song is going to be doing an Earth Day event, that type of thing. What can I do during this time and continue to do that's positive? Let's focus on this positive. This is what I want to do. I'm concerned about this. I'm going to take action about this. For whatever those different causes are, I can take action around those with right intention. And then the fourth thing that is always present is being mindful of my intentions when I act. And this is where our mindfulness practice comes in, trying to be mindful. And Ward mentioned, he says, he looks, well, is this action what wholesome or unwholesome? The Buddha was talking to Rahula, his son Rahula, and he says, before you act, you ask the question, is this going to lead to harm for myself and others or not? And I kind of have the thing, I always kind of try to go, is it suffering or not suffering for myself and others? Suffering or not suffering? That kind of brings me back to what the Buddha was doing. So you might want to try to come up with something as you act, as you go through, as you engage with other people. What's that little thing that you can do for yourself to say, is this action going to create suffering or non-suffering? Will this intention, what's my intention behind this? Because that's where it's going to cause the suffering. So kind of think about something for yourself. What can remind you to help you be mindful of this action that you're doing? So those were kind of the four things that I'm going to be working with during this time to help focus on this idea of right intention. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think I'm going to fall off the wagon, so to speak. I'm going to get angry and do that. That's okay. That's okay. This is a practice. This is working with what arises in this moment. We're not always going to succeed, but like I said, this is the time to practice. This is a great time to do this. What is my intention? If I'm acting, are my political actions free of this, of clinging, anger, or cruelty? Senkan Mifam Rinpoche says this: in the Buddhist teachings, intention is a path or practice that is focused on how you are being in the present moment. You set your intentions based on understanding what matters most to you and make a commitment to align your worldly actions with your inner values. Intention is what sets our direction in life. So over these next few weeks, just always keep asking yourself, are my actions in line with my spiritual practice? We are on this path, we're practicing, and everything we do should be reflect that and should work with that, with our spiritual path, with our practice, with our teachings. Thank you. So now we have time for some questions. You can type them in through the chat. You can go to the participants list and you can raise your hand and I will ask you to be on mute and you can ask your question. So we have a couple. Let me pull up chat first. The first one, the question, I've always been about voting, but the more I grow in my practice, the more I feel it's just another version of Hunger Games. And I get discouraged about politics despite history and fighting for democracy. Thoughts on this from the spiritual path? It kind of goes back to what I think David Lloyd said a little bit, that it's important that people that are on this spiritual path are engaged in activities and doing things to trying to make less suffering for everyone. For me, it's the idea of the karma of it, that every action I take has some type of impact, no matter how small that is, no matter how small it is. I mean, that's the thing. I'm engaged with this from the spiritual path. I need to be engaged with it. I'm going to be engaged. Let's put it this way. We can't get away from this. We're going to be engaged, whether it's family, fans, news, whatever it is. We're going to be engaged with this. So I think bringing or being a present in these environments, a spiritual presence in the environments, is part of our spiritual path. Can you say a little more about what you do when anger comes up for you? Like I said, I kind of use it as I have to see it. I want to, okay, this is anger. And part of it is this is anger, and I see it as anger arising, and I try not to hold. I don't say this is my anger. Sometimes this is, oh, anger's here. There's anger here. Anger has come up. It's not mine, because I don't know that I sat there and went, I'm going to get angry. I didn't sit there and go, I'm going to get angry about this. Sometimes we do that, but anger just comes up. It arises. So it's not mine. It's one way of kind of loosening the grip of it a little bit. I'm not pushing it away. I'm just saying it's not mine. It's here. I'm going to be with it. What does it feel like? Where is it in the body? What does it feel like? And then I can kind of, if I want to work with it, I can say, okay, what's driving? Then I kind of look past the anger, look into it. What's driving this anger? It's not, the anger is just the emotion, but there's something that triggered that anger. And so I try to go back and see, what is that? What is it? And like I said, for me, a lot of times I'm clinging to, I want something to be different than the way it is. That's a big one. I want it to be different, and I get angry when it's not. And part of our practice is learning to be with the way things are in this moment. So that's kind of how I work with anger. When it comes up, the first thing is, oh, there it is. Before I get caught up into it, because once you get caught up into it, it just escalates and keeps going. The story keeps going. And I think someone has their hand raised. Let's see if I can do this. Steve asked to unmute. Okay, Steve, I've asked you to unmute.
Today I attempted to educate someone, correct a faulty fact, and it was taken as an insult, and they felt attacked. So would it be appropriate in that case to apologize because they felt attacked or insulted? Or is there something else that we should do?
Well, you can, not you when you say apologize for insult, you didn't insult me, says you can, I would go, I didn't mean to insult you with my comment. I didn't mean to, that was not my intention to insult you with this comment. And then you'd have to see, then you kind of have to make the decision whether you explain further or whether you decide it's best that I step away from this conversation at this point. So you have a choice. Then you can kind of tell where they're doing. So to see, then you have to make a decision. Maybe it's best, but the intention is I didn't intend to insult you. Maybe I was just trying to explain that, or maybe you just say that and go, um, we'll talk later, or I'll see you, or something like that, whatever the relationship is. Because sometimes if you say I didn't intend to this, but then you go on and try to explain yourself, that just gets them angrier. That makes sense.
It does.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Okay. I'll meet you back. Let's see. Yeah, Noreen, that's nice. You apologize. Noreen said she apologized when her sister felt they got upset with her for not voting the way I feel. That's that thing of, we get upset because we want something to be different than the way it is. And when I went back through this and I was looking at, am I free from clinging, anger, and cruelty? Well, I was probably cruel. I mean, I was thinking some cruel things about some people, not physical, but why is this person this way? And that's cruelty. And that's not that's not in our practice. How long have I been practicing? Is there any ritual that you I've been practicing for 20 years, and my practice is mostly meditation. And so we have the meditations we have are the insight meditation, there's the loving kindness meditation, the metta meditation, so the compassion meditation, gratitude. So it's more around those things and the study of the suttas or the teachings of the Buddha. Of course, being a teacher, I probably study that also. So that's been kind of my practice around my work with Buddhism has been that. So it's sitting on the cushion, going to retreats and sitting on the cushion and practicing the meditation. Okay, let's see. I think we have another hand here. Babita, I asked, did you unmute?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you for the very nice explanation. Really appreciate it. My question is, I seem to have good intentions. Like I feel that I want to do something, but I'm clinging on to a belief that I'm not capable of doing anything. And so I just sit and send loving kindness. So that doesn't go in good karmas, right? Then?
You say you don't think you can do anything good, so you sit and just send loving kindness?
Yeah, especially, for example, when I see what's going on politically, I feel very sad what's going on. And being a US citizen, I feel I should be doing something about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I have this maybe wrong perceptions or beliefs. Oh, what can I do? I better sit quietly and just send metta. And I'm wondering, I guess this would not be in my spiritual practice, right? Because I should be doing. I'm a little confused. If you can shed some light.
Well, if you're sitting loving kindness meditation, that's okay. That's good to do. I think that's why for me the law of karma, the karma is so important. It motivates me. It says, now it motivates me if I act with right intention. If I do something with the right intention, it's going to have good results. And that says, okay, I can go do something. Whatever I do, I can do it. Now, I have to be, so whatever you do, and that's even no matter how small it is, no matter how small it is, it's going to have some, if it's with right intention, it's going to have some good, it's going to create less suffering. So that's what motivates me, that I don't have to do this big thing. I don't have to go out and do this big thing. I can do these little things. And they're going to have an effect. So you can do metta and you can do things. If we're acting with right intention, no matter how small it is, because everything has a karmic impact. No matter how small it is, it will have an effect. Now we may not see it, but that's the way I perceive this and the way I act and why I act. So do both. I mean, you don't have to do anything. That's what I'm saying. But it's obvious if you're concerned about things, I think it's unnatural for us not to be engaged, not to act. And so, but we just have to be real aware of our intentions when we do act, that they're in line with our spiritual practice. That help, Adita?
Yes, it did. It did help, especially the part where you reminded me that it doesn't matter how small it is, there are going to be ripple effects. So just if that, because something must be bothering me, that's why I asked the question. So something in me tells me that if I am in the spiritual practice, I can do something and I'm not doing it yet. So thank you for shedding light.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We're just, that's good. And it can be for anybody, for any political, it's all for everyone. Okay, let's see if we. The question is, if we are to accept things as they are, does that mean we cannot strive to socially, politically change for what we believe to be better? No, I think that's a conception around, also around all of the Buddhist practices, that we kind of sit and I get this meditation and I'm going to have enlightenment for myself. I think our practices of loving kindness, our practices of compassion, all these lead us to action. If I have compassion for other things in the world, if this compassion arises within me, it's going to arise action within me. But I'm going to be acting out of compassion for these things. So that's why I think that this engaged Buddhism or acting this is part of what's going to happen. It's what we're going to do, what we're going to strive, we will end up doing these things to make it better. We need to just be aware. I think, we can have passion about things and do this. If I'm coming out of anger about this or greed or something, I just have to be real careful about that intention. And am I because if I'm holding on to views and I get angry around this and act, it's everybody else is already doing that. How's that different from whatever the people are doing? This sounds like a philosophy question. What it means a good system to you following voting laws. Voting? I don't quite understand the laws. What does it mean to be a good laws voting? I don't quite understand. Praveen, if you'll explain that or type in a little bit more, I'll see if I can answer that. Can't we strive? Oh, yeah, it's then we have the can't we strive to do great change and still accept the current moment? Yes, because you're always in the current moment. You have to, we're always in this moment, so we have to accept this current moment. That doesn't preclude us from taking action. It doesn't preclude us from doing more things as we stay, because each moment is each moment. But this moment, I can be planning mindfully to make change. That's what we do. I can mindfully plan in this moment to make change. So we're not, we're not passively sitting around on the cushion. We will be engaged. And I really think that it leads to that. Our loving kindness, our meditation, particularly compassion for other things, for other beings, the compassion for the earth, that will motivate us to take action. I think I think I've gotten everybody. I probably haven't answered everything as we should, and not as we should, or completely, but that's part of the Dharma. That's part of being in this moment. Is that, but yeah, it is. We will be engaged with this. We are engaged. We are involved with this. No matter what your political affiliation, you are engaged with it. The question is, how can we get engaged and still maintain our spiritual practice? They can be together. So I'll go over some briefly the announcements. Next, on October the 7th, Wednesday, October the 7th, Thea Powers, one of our Dharma leaders in training, will be our Wednesday night leader. So be sure to be here, Thea. There is on Saturday, October the 10th at 9 o'clock, there's going to be the Clean Up Charlotte Earth Day event at Freedom Park that we're going to be participating in. There's some information on the website about that. The second fall book discussion starts on October the 7th. It's going to be through Zoom. It's Sharon Salzberg's new book, Real Change. It's led by Joy. You'll have to contact Joy through the via the website to find out if there's still openings there. Fall Insight Meditation Basic Series via Zoom, led by Ward, will be 4 consecutive nights on starting October 6th. If you're new to meditation, this is a great way to be able to practice it, come back and the next week have questions about things, and he can explain that. So you get your practice along with some instruction, and it's a great way to be introduced to insight meditation. Starting on October the 20th, there's a Beyond the Basics series that Debbie George will be leading called Living the Four Noble Truths. The Sangha Buddy program, which is connecting pairs during the COVID via phone or virtual platform, is going to be from October the 1st to the 31st through December 31st. And I believe the information is on the website about who to contact. I think it's Maria regarding that. There's a Second Harvest Food Bank voluntary event on November the 14th. We tried this earlier, and because of something that could come up, I think they do a pretty good job of social distancing there and cleaning things. So that's on November the 14th. That's probably a Saturday. Check out the website for these things. If you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can go do that through our website, imccharlotte.org. And we also have a new Instagram page. Is at Insight Meditation Charlotte. And I hope y'all know how that works. That's all I know about Instagram. Are there any other meditation announcements? If you raise your hand, I will unmute you. We still have, Elizabeth, hold on, sorry. There you go. Elizabeth, there you go.
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to add to the announcements. We've had a last minute addition. The programs committee was contacted by the Charlotte Center for Mindfulness. They are putting together some racial affinity groups, and have invited anyone from our Sangha who wants to participate. Those are it's a year-long process. And so to kick that off, we are hosting a book discussion / study group of the book Mindful of Race. Here it is right here. There's more information on the website. We'll be meeting from 6:30 to 8:30 it's a Friday on October 2nd and October 9th via Zoom. And if you're interested in joining us, we've got links to purchase the book on the website, on the events page. You can email programs@imccharlotte.org to let us know that you want the link. The discussion will be free. We just ask that you have a copy of the book. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Mute you back. And then, of course, if you can go to on our website, you can donate. Practice generosity at imccharlotte.org if you're in the position to be able to do that at this time. Okay, let's end tonight with our loving kindness meditation. Take a moment to kind of get relaxed. Loving kindness works well when you're more relaxed. You're kind of in the flow. And bring our intention here is to, like we said, we can set our intention with this also, is to be present in this meditation and to develop loving kindness. As part of our practice, to develop loving kindness. And you can always think of someone, you think of your self. We always do ourselves first, or we don't always do that. We can do ourselves first. Think of something that brings you joy. Think of a childhood time, a childhood pet, or something that brings you joy, that kind of brings a little smile to your face around yourself. Kind of just let that settle in a little bit. And I'll say some phrases, and you can repeat these to yourself or use phrases that you are used to using. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I live with joy and ease. Now continue to send our loving kindness out to someone that you particularly want to send loving kindness to, someone who's been a good friend, a mentor, someone that's struggling during this time, maybe financially or with health issues. Bring that person to mind. Kind of let them come down into your heart center. May you be safe and protected. May you be healthy and strong. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you live with joy and ease. Now, as we practice our intention of goodwill, we send this loving kindness to all beings everywhere, regardless of their political affiliation. All beings. May all beings be safe and protected. May all beings be healthy and strong. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all beings live with joy and ease. And may any benefit that we receive from tonight's practice be for the liberation of all beings everywhere. May all beings be free. Please stay safe, enjoy the weather, and have a good week.